Tonight we're going to be talking about Perfection Perfected, the Shadow Systems MR920. Are you ready? Stand by. Welcome back to the channel, and tonight we are talking about a premium pistol. If you do all of the things the people on the internet tell you to do when you buy a Glock, which is basically change everything in their garbage out of the box, what you're left with is something roughly like the Shadow Systems MR920. So for those of you not familiar with Shadow Systems Corporation, the Shadow Systems Corporation got their start doing custom Glocks, building up actual Glocks, until in 2018 when they released the MR918, that's multi-roll pistol in 9mm, released in 2018. They took all of the feedback from all of their customers and updated the frame and the optics cut, and you are left with the MR920, which is a 9mm released in 2020. Some of you might be saying, why should I care about an expensive Glock? Well, it has all of the popular modifications that you generally do to stock Glocks at a pretty good price, and it's made in the United States right here in Plano, Texas. So that brings us to the question, would you rather buy the gun that's set up right out of the box, or would you rather buy the stock gun, spend more money, and set it up the way you want it? Let me know in the comments below. So what you see here is the Combat Elite, and what that means is it comes with a window on the slide and these serrations on the top of the slide. The base model is the Combat, and it's basically the same gun, but you don't get the window and you don't have the serrations on top. The frames come in black or FDE, which is relatively new and looks super sharp. The barrels, you get to pick the color of your barrel. They come in a bronze tin coating, as you see here, a gold tin coating, a more traditional look, and then a black nitride. The other option you get to pick from is the slide. You can get it with the optics ready cut that is new and proprietary to the 920, or you can get a traditional irons only slide. The baseline Combats are going to hit the street around $800, and right now the Elites with all the features are going for just under $1,000. So go ahead and pick your jaw up off the floor saying that's a plastic gun that costs nearly $1,000. Let's talk about the features and how it relates to value before we get carried away. But while we are getting carried away, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. There's probably an 80% chance you haven't. And if you're already subscribed, share this video with all of the contacts in your phone. No, seriously, do it. It'd really help the channel and I'd appreciate it. So now that that's done, the frame. Let's start talking about the frame. The frame has a very nice, fine textured finish on it. It gets a little more aggressive on the front strap and on the back strap of the pistol. So it does a good job of adhering to your hand even when it's wet. The texture is quite good. You get excellent traction with your support hand when you're building a good grip. And the frame doesn't just rely on traction. It actually throws the gun up into your hand via geometry as well. You can see that the trigger guard has this double undercut where it's been relieved. So it's very comfortable and you get very high up under the trigger guard. There is a grip tang out here in the back, so people with even the chubbiest hands aren't going to get slide bite from the 920. And it also kind of acts as like a weird counter lever where you can actually feel it. The muzzle climb from this gun is very, very minimal and it's not a problem. The trigger guard is a little bit different from a standard Glock trigger guard, which would generally come straight down and kind of flare out at the bottom. And as a result, these will fit very well in Glock existing holsters, but it's not going to be that perfect fit. If you're used to like the Harry's holster, which has a vacuum formed like a glove fit, you're not going to get quite the same fit due to the frame being slightly different. It's still pretty good. In fact, I'd say very good, but it's not like it was made for the gun, and that's a little bit evident. But you can save 10% on a Harry's holsters with the code in the description. So the back straps on the pistol are actually quite interesting because they don't actually go the full height. It's kind of like the CZ P10 type back straps that only go up to about, well, really right there. They actually give you 3 different contours. What I have installed right now mimics the grip angle of like a Glock. They've got another one which they consider more of a neutral grip angle, almost like a CZ. And they've got another one that is like a thin grip angle that is more like a 1911. And the one with the 1911 profile actually provides excellent access to the controls and trigger reach for people who have smaller hands. So one of the big complaints with the Glock is it's not good for small-handed shooters. I think with that little back strap installed, you'd have excellent access to the controls that really feel at home in your hands. Now, popular modification to Glock frames is getting the accelerator cut, and as you can see, there is a ledge right there. So if you're the type of person who likes to get their support hand thumb trying to hold the muzzle down in there, you can certainly do it. That is there for you. And my favorite feature about the Shadow Systems frame, it can be found right here and right here. You might be asking yourself, hey, you're not pointing at anything on the frame. You're exactly right. There's not that dumb indentation for your thumb, because all Glock pistols have that stupid thumb indentation that is completely worthless, and if you put your thumb in it, you're gonna shoot the Glock super left. This frame doesn't have that. It's just got glorious texture at the critical point where your support hand makes contact with the frame. So bravo Shadow Systems for getting it right. So with all that grip work done on this, if you were to get a stipple package with accelerator cuts and the double undercut trigger guard, you'd be talking about $250 to $300 on top of the Glock purchase price. So moving up to the slide, it's got the optics cut built in, and it is a proprietary optics cut system. It uses some of the longest, fattest screws I have ever seen, and they give you 3 sets that ship with the pistol to account for optics of a bunch of different. Their optics cut does not use recoil bosses, which kind of bucks everything I thought was true about the optics game. Instead, they give you 3 different spacers that install at the back of the pocket and give the optic a very tight fit in the slide. And so far, the hollow sun that I usually use with this has been perfectly fine riding on the optics cut. Moving up to the front cocking serrations, they're done wonderfully. Not only are the front cocking serrations a little bit aggressive and angled, which makes them very easy to grab hold of, they also thin the slide out just a little bit. So it creates kind of a nice little ledge right there that is very, very easy to get a hold of. There are serrations on the top of the slide, although I think those are largely cosmetic, although I guess if you do some weird, like, I don't know, judo karate chop, you could probably use them. You've got a little window there so that pocket lint and all sorts of great stuff can get in there, exposing the glorious fluted barrel. We'll touch on that here in a bit. But all in all, the slide work is very well done. The slide finish is very good. I've been carrying this gun since I got it. It's been in and out of the holster a lot, and there is 0 muzzle wear to show for it. The slide is also tri-topped, which you can kind of see there. They kind of ease the edges running down the slide there, putting them on like a 45. So you got that going for you as well. So if you were to take a Glock and get all this custom slide work done, you'd be looking at least $300 in cuts and refinishing of your slide. But all of that is ready to go right out of the box with the Shadow system. Now moving on to the controls, the Shadow Systems uses a blend of the Gen 3 and Gen 4 parts. You can see that there are the 2 pins at the front of the gun and 1 pin at the rear for the trigger housing, just like the Gen 3s and Gen 4s. The trigger is a proprietary Shadow Systems trigger. It is an aluminum shoe. It's a almost straight trigger with a trigger safety right there. It's actually a very good profile, very comfortable, a very easy reach, and not a whole lot of take up, as you can see there. And for the trigger snobs, let's see the trigger pull. It's about and the trigger pull weight is about 4 pounds. It's very fast, very short, and very positive on the reset. The trigger is totally adequate out of the box. If you want to get lost in the weeds of trigger snobbery, you certainly can. There is room for improvement, but as far as stock triggers go, the 920 is a pretty squared away trigger. Now the slide stop, slide release has a very slim profile. It almost melts into the frame there. They put that little wall around it so you don't inadvertently lock the slide open. The magazine release is actually not the OEM magazine release. The Shadow Systems magazine release just randomly started giving me fits where I was dropping magazines in recoil because it has a series of fins that kind of mimic the slide serrations. So I was inadvertently dropping magazines with it. Shadow Systems sent me a new magazine release spring as quickly as it could get to me, but it turns out my palms are just getting fatter and making contact with the magazine release, so switching to the OEM Glock made that problem go away for me. And while I'm crying about things, the takedown levers on this gun are a little weird. Traditionally with a Glock style pistol, you pull the trigger, pull it to the rear just a bit, and then pull down on the tabs and then pull forward. But this one you can see doesn't come forward. You actually have to pull the trigger again before it comes off the slide. It's kind of a weird quirk. It's not the end of the world, but there's a 2 trigger pull required to get the slide off the gun, which is not typical. Getting into the sights that come on the gun are these Ameriglow sights that are excellent. There is a serrated black rear, and with how deep the optic cut is, it provides a great lower third co-witness on a hollow sun or an RMR style sight. Getting into the guide rod, it ships with a steel guide rod, which is nice. A lot of people cry about plastic guide rods in plastic guns. I don't understand why, but they like to put stainless steel guide rods in them, and the stainless steel guide rod is very robust. It has a nice quality feel to it. It is a serious quality piece of kit, and you can actually change out the spring because it is captured at the front by this removable post. And the barrel, which is this nice kind of spiral fluted barrel, besides looking cool, it actually, when the gun is wet, and I wiped down the barrel for the video so you guys wouldn't call me a slob because I don't clean guns, it does a good job of transporting all of the fouling and buildup into the grooves away from the actual area that is mating with the slide. So it keeps the friction down and allows the gun to work without being cleaned longer, which is awesome. But most importantly is this is a match grade barrel. Shooting from my Caldwell Pistolero brace with a dot at 25 yards, this was printing smaller groups than the Gen 5 Marksman barrel in my Glock 19, which is saying something because the Glock 19 Gen 5s are actually really mechanically accurate pistols, and this gun is significantly more accurate than that. If you're looking for aftermarket barrels, I can't recommend this one high enough. It is a very good barrel. Then it brings us to the front of the barrel with the thread protector, and if you notice the O-ring that's installed there. One thing that Shadow Systems does with this gun is actually really cool, is they give you all of the tools you would need in the box, including the O-ring that keeps the thread protector on so it doesn't try and commit suicide and throw itself off the front of your gun downrange. For all of these little pins you see that retain the back straps and the mag well, they give you a nice punch that actually punches these out pretty well. And they even give you gun oil in the case with it and the Loctite to mount your optic to the gun. So pretty much everything you need with this gun is included in the box, including 2 Magpul GL915 mags, which some people don't like as much, but the reason they give them to you is because with the magwell installed, that base pad actually does a great job of standing clear of the base pad without adding too much length. The Glock 15 round magazines will work with the magwell, but they're just a little bit closer to the lip and harder to get out and harder to rip out if they were to stick. And one of my favorite things about the 920 is that it comes with, instead of a stupid plastic hard case, a lovely pistol rug, which can accommodate your gun and 5 magazines. So this is a wonderful piece of kit if you're going to the range a lot and you have a range bag taking guns in pistol rugs to and from the safe. This is just a nice piece of gear. It is very well made that you can keep your gun in. And I wish all manufacturers would give you pistol rugs and not those stupid plastic cases. So basically everything about this gun is in the as it should be column from the Glock. So all the things that they tell you you have to do to Glocks on the internet are already done to this pistol right out of the box. And as far as shooting the gun is concerned, all of these features add up for a great experience. Like I said, the frame locks into your hand both with traction and through its geometry. It funnels your fingers up under the trigger guard, making you get as high as possible on the back strap. And as a result, putting this on the Mantis X recoil meter, the gun's muzzle climb is about what a stock Glock 34's is, which was surprising and very welcome. So for despite being a very little gun, it is a very soft shooting, mild recoiling gun. The controls, because of how well the gun is set up, it is very easy to get all of the accuracy from this very accurate barrel. Because the trigger is very well set up out of the box, it's very easy to find a home on that trigger and do a straight to the rear trigger press, it is very easy to group with. So all of that combined means a gun that's very easy to be precise with and a gun that's easy to run pretty fast. If this were a full-size gun, it would be a contender in the gun games, even though this gun is on the list for USPSA production, which means you can play gun games with it. It actually is very well set up for IDPA Carry Optics Division because it comes with a mag well already. It's going to do just fine. You don't need a longer gun for carry optics because you're using an optic and sight radius means nothing. The reliability beyond that crazy issue I had with the mag release has been very good. Now in the manual they mentioned there is a 200 round break-in period, and I did observe that to be a thing. Specifically when you are slow putting the gun into chamber, you see how it kind of hitches and goes home like that? Well, when I would slowly try and chamber rounds for about the first 200 rounds, it would actually hang up out of battery like that, where I would have to tap it into battery. It only happened on the first round in a magazine if I did not use the slide release to drop the slide or slingshot the gun into battery. It only happened when I very gently eased it into battery, which it's not the only gun that does that. And as far as the aftermarket is concerned, the world is your oyster because this takes all of the Gen 3, Gen 4 Glock accessories. So pretty much everything I've tried with this gun, including holsters, has worked with no problems. So there it is, guys. The Shadow Systems 920 is pretty squared away right out of the box. I'm not going to be changing anything on this pistol as I continue to shoot it, use it for some more compensator reviews. And I'd like to thank the folks over at Shadow Systems for sending this in for T&E. I really appreciate it. I've really enjoyed getting to shoot this gun, and you'll see it some more on the channel. And I appreciate all of you people who've watched it this far. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care, guys.